Hello, innovators. I'm Todd, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Applied Software. You're invited to join our MEP and construction innovation adventure with the mission to propel this great industry forward. My guest today is Justin Fellows, founder of 53 Quantum. He helps clarify construction data, minimize exposure to future disputes and financial risk, reduce delays, and a whole lot more by using technology such as machine learning and AI to provide results faster and more accurately. Justin is a passionate advocate for the adoption of new technology to reveal better and more profitable ways of working. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you very much, Todd. That's a great introduction. I feel like I'm teeing up on the first tee of a major golfing competition.
There you go. Hopefully we can keep it that exciting throughout the whole thing. So I like it. Well, I always like to start with how you got into the industry and get a little bit of your backstory for the audience.
Sure. Well, I got into the industry when I was 16. I started moving bricks around and doing general laboring. And I then got into the bricklaying trade. And I enjoyed my time bricklaying, but I was passionate about doing other things within construction as well. And then there was a recession in the late 80s, early 90s. And I don't think it was because of that reason, but I went back to college and I studied as a quantity surveyor. That's the area I went into. And ever since then, I've been enjoying my time in construction. So from a very early stage, I found that my work was taking me into disputes. I find that there are a lot of disputes within construction. And, it's also just an interesting area for me to see how I could help resolve problems within construction, really using data more recently.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Did you find that your experience in the labor side and bricklaying, did that help set you up for maybe a success or advantage later on in your career?
I believe so. I think it's really important that people have, where they can, have that exposure to the construction process. They have that empathy of people working within the trades as well, so that they can also understand how things are put together on a construction site. And it just really helps if people are in that professional side to understand how things are put together and make more sense of how they're going about their work. So I do think it's a really important thing to have within, your career if you've got some site exposure, really. Yeah.
I think that you bring up empathy, and that is so big. Whether you have the labor experience or not, but to have the empathy to go out there and say, all right, I want to really understand your pain points and what you're going through, and not just come in. I think that the rap on software providers is that oftentimes they can come in with their own arrogance and ego and think that they have all the solutions figured out to the construction industry. And if you don't start with that empathy, you are probably going to be way off base with what you are actually trying to push and to sell. And so you're just, kind of cramming in software instead of actually addressing the problem that's going on the site and solving the problem, not just adding in new technology for the sake of technology.
Yeah, I think so. That also you need buy-in from the people, whether it be, at site level, tradesmen using apps to collect the right information at the right time in the right format is really important to really sort of leverage the tools that are available now. So it enables a move away from the paper records that are still in abundance within the industry. It's very difficult to deal with paper records to get them into a format that you can then get the best results from that information. So if you capture it in the right way, make sure it's nice and clean, structured properly, and you can get the access to that data at the right time without low latency, if you like, then it's a beneficial thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is something that the construction industry is missing right now when it comes to really harnessing the power of all the data that they have available on a project?
I think for me, it really kind of starts from the tools are available. They've been the business intelligence tools that I kind of started on my data journey, really being interested, having a wow moment. How come in construction we're not leveraging these tools that have been available in other industries for quite a long time, and they're using them to gain competitive advantage, really? How come we're not using tools such as business intelligence tools within the industry? And I think that in order to use those tools, you need to have the correct data, that, as I said, in the right format, etc. But they're available, and we really should be making better use of them. That's just one example. So, there's also tools that will automatically clean up or help clean up your data if it is in messy formats. And it's often, what I find is the data's siloed, so that in order to gain the insights from that data, you have to bring it together. And I think there's too much of siloing within construction companies to make the best use of that data. So I think that's one thing that I'd really sort of encourage companies to look at, the way that they're collecting the data, where they're storing it, how and what format they're using at the moment. So
yeah, well, regular listeners will have heard me say this before, but the down with silos. I think obviously some of it's going to be inevitable, but the more that we can get rid of silos and really start figuring out how to strategically connect the dots and the information together and have systems talk to each other, that's the next step forward in construction.
Connecting the dots is really important, isn't it? It's just, what you would expect that is already, should be happening already. I think it's just we got to have a big push on that now to data is exponentially growing year on year. The amount of data that we're dealing with, construction's getting more and more complicated. So the companies that really have a strategic set of data rules are going to be able to leverage that advantage in the future. So it's so important. Connecting the dots is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And often, it's a case that you have to do that if you haven't, set up your data policy, if you like, correctly in the first instance, because it's then having to figure things out, and it takes a lot longer. Often, as I say, the data's messy. It's in lots of different formats. It's data cleaning and wrangling, and it's difficult. It's time consuming. So you're not really getting to the insights as well. I want to see a move. I think we need to get to a position where we're using the data. It's a live connection almost to the data. It flows in, and we're analyzing it. So if we can get to that point in the next few years, we've been in a really good position. I know there are companies that are doing this and leveraging that advantage, but I think we need to move from reactive to them, using machine learning to start predicting things. That's where we need to then push on from. But we need to get to, here first. The tools are, relatively easy to leverage and use, and then look to the machine learning, automated machine learning to move forward, really, and start predicting things like, programs. I see we have planners to program the works for the time sequencing, but in the future, I see that being done by predictive machine learning, because it's making use of historical data. And I know there are each project is a bespoke project, but though these tools will help in predicting the best path and the best way of completing a construction project, for one example.
Yeah. So leaning into that, what's the next step? How do you get from, you change that kind of posture of being reactive to being proactive? And maybe what's a hurdle that's standing in construction's way in changing that posture to that proactive stance?
I think it's really the vision that you do the same thing over and over again, you get the same results. You've got to try and change the process. So you've got to have that vision to see that there are better ways now of doing things. And I think when you make that commitment to down that path, the results will start to show for themselves. So it does take investment, a bit of time, but as I say, it's a low entry really now. There are business intelligence tools, ETL tools that do a lot of the heavy lifting for you nowadays. So I'm not sure what the barriers are to entry. I don't see them as being big hurdles now. So I really see that they should be utilized more in companies, construction companies particularly.
Yeah. I think historically, you mentioned earlier that other industries were ahead of us in construction in adopting a lot of these tools. And I think that that's true because historically the tools, they weren't made for construction. They were made for other industries, and there's some complexities in construction, and that ease of use for the field to really leverage the technology maybe wasn't really there in the past. But I see that changing for sure. To your point, that there are tools now that make that ease of use a lot easier for the field to really adopt it. Right now, one of the challenges that I see is changing the we have a phrase around here called head trash, that is just thoughts that you have of what it used to be, but it's not what it currently is now, and your thought and your mindset hasn't caught up to where it currently is. And so you got to get rid of that head trash to see the lay of the land as it clearly is today. So how do you go about getting people on board and really embracing and leveraging this data first mindset?
I think I'll give you an example. So when people see some of the things you can do with the modern ETL tools, sorry, I'm just gonna put that on. I've had, oh my goodness, how did you do that? And this was like 5 years ago. I've had these reactions, and even when I stumbled across them, I could not believe that there were tools out there that were doing, what I wanted to achieve. They were there, and they've been out for quite a few years. Then for myself, going into looking and learning about these tools, I was speaking to people within different industries. So I think it's sort of encouraging, and I try and get the message out, I really would like to encourage people who are starting out or really starting out to look at the way that quantity surveying is done and the things that are going to change and are changing very quickly. So I'd encourage them to look what's coming down the tracks, but then look sort of 10 years in front of that and kind of learn, as high up that kind of timeline as you can go to try and get ahead, really, because it's having that advantage, really. It's and leveraging that advantage. So I think it's also seeing the benefits as well of using these modern tools, but it'll help with the efficiency gains, which should come back into being more profitable effectively. So it's good for everybody to get on board, and I think in construction we need more of a collaborative approach to how we do things. But that's
that's a whole other set of
that's a whole other side to things. So but I really do, I think it's also having a passion to look at what's out there. If you can only use one or two tools, so you're using traditional spreadsheet tools to do some analysis, and you haven't gone outside that because it does the job. When you see, if you don't know how to use other tools, then I think you could be at a disadvantage in not. And I do believe that there are some really good advantages with using modern tools out there, but again, it's choosing the right tool for the situation you find yourself in. That's really key. Whatever tool it is, just find the best one to achieve the result and solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of good nuggets in there. So one that stands out is really starting with the end in mind and then working backwards and developing your plan that way. And this, it kind of pairs into what you just said at the end there, which I think is spot on in finding the right technology tool. You can have the, you know, the cool new sexy software that's out there, but it doesn't fit your workflow. It doesn't fit your company, it doesn't fit your culture. And so you can bring it on board, but it's not going to go anywhere. And it's not going to be that effective for you because it doesn't fit the problem that you're trying to actually address in your current situation. And so I think being really mindful of, you don't necessarily need to add a ton of technology just for technology's sake, but be strategic and be smart and thoughtful on, does this technology really solve the exact problem that I'm trying to address here? And if it does, awesome. You're going to see really great success from that. If it doesn't, it's probably going to fall flat. And it might not be that the software is bad. It's just that it doesn't fix the problem that you're trying to solve.
And it's also getting that, you know, as I say, it's getting that buy-in from people so that, that it makes their life easier, and it makes, you know, whatever you're working on, if it's solving a problem or you're working on a construction project, it's making it as profitable as possible by using, you know, being more efficient in the way that you address that particular problem. So, but I do see that, yes, you can have all the shiny, you know, new software tools. I today was I was waiting for a new update of a particular piece of software, and I thought this was going to solve the particular challenge that I had, and it was a piece of Python code in, and it unfortunately it did partly, but it you know, I thought it was going to be like the thing that did it for me. So you know, there's still challenges, but
there is no silver bullet when it comes to technology. You know, you're still gonna have some hurdles.
I think it's the frustration as well. If for myself, and I'm sure other people ones, you know, have been there when they're trying to do things, and this is when I sort of really got excited about data sort of 7-8 years ago, was when I was trying to do things and I couldn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, or it was taking me forever. I wanted things where I could ask questions of the data quickly, hypothesize, and, you know, iterate. And it was just very difficult with traditional tools now. So, you know, that was my sort of step into the technology side. And but it really brought me back to, and a good friend of mine said to me, Justin, it's all about, you know, structuring the data. So, you know, having the right data at the right time, but structure in it, because the modern tools don't like dirty data. So, you know, you're going to have to clean it, and you can spend quite a lot of time in cleaning the data before you can actually visualize and analyze it and find those golden nuggets, those things that are going to really go, my goodness, you know, this is it. This is, you know, this is the problem. I see it. I can actually, and one of the pieces of software, Todd, is Tableau, which is really where my journey started. I'm very passionate a Tableau user, and their strapline is see and understand your data. Well, so that's kind of the point, being able to see, visualize, and interact with your data and find insights that are very difficult to find using traditional tools. So
how do you maybe personally gain insights from data? Well, how do you like to think about it when you're looking at it, you're trying to kind of optimize the results?
Yeah. So for me, the most important thing is we all have questions that we want to answer of data. Mm-hmm. So it's having that ability to do that. And, you know, it is about taking some time to learn and to invest in yourself to be able to answer those questions. And for sure, you can go out and get people to analyze the data and serve it up to you, and here's the insight you wanted. But if you, as somebody within the construction industry, you know the things in your profession that are important to you for you to actually get out of the data. And that's the key. It's for you having those skills in your job to be able to say, I need to see, or I need to know when I've spent X amount of pounds on concrete over what I had as a budget, or I want to know, in real time, I want an email sent to me when something hasn't been delivered, or so whatever the key metric is, that's the key. That's it for me.
Yeah, and then work backwards from there. I agree. I think approaching the data by saying, not looking at the data first, but starting with those questions on, this is in the end what I want to know. Now, how can I make the data, give me this information? Because on raw data, you can search it and query it, and you can twist it, not twist in a bad way, but you can pull the information out of the data that you want to answer whatever question. But if you don't know what question, then the data is just totally overwhelming and very messy. I think, I say a statement a lot that my team probably laughs at, like, this is, in the end, this is what I want. I have no idea how to do it or how to get there, but I know it's possible. And so how can we get the information out of that? And so I think starting with like the big vision of the end that you're trying to get at, and then you can approach the data more strategically and say, okay, this is, the data is telling me this part, here's where I might have a hole in it that I have to go find maybe another data source to fill in this hole if I want it, or how do you extrapolate out of that and go from there?
Yeah, I think so. And as I say, it's exploring the data as well as another part to that. So if you have the ability to really ask questions as fast as you can think of them, and you know the things you want to answer, so just I've got my data now, I've got it structured, and it's great, and I can literally, what do I want to know now, or what do I want to give that to someone else so they can explore that data? So again, across the platform within a company, so having different dashboards for different people, having different metrics telling me when I've spent, as I say, gone higher than a certain metric or below, or something hasn't been achieved, is so powerful. And I think there's just so many uses for a modern strategic business intelligence, if that's that's the tool. There's just so many uses for it within construction.
So we spent time talking about the potential of it. Data's messy though.
Yes.
What is something that kind of frustrates you in operating with data that people should maybe be on the lookout for?
Well, so again, I'm going to go back quite a few years. I hit the roadblocks in, as I say, like the enormous spreadsheets, lots of spreadsheets, messy data. It's paper records. There's just an abundance of information that I felt that I was limited in what I could do, and I was an advanced Excel user at the time, and I was frustrated by the process a bit, and so it may have been my failings. I'm not saying anything against the software, the tool that I was using, but I just felt frustrated that I couldn't get past those roadblocks in what I wanted to achieve for my job. So that was the process to then look and to train in myself to get to where I am now, with more skills in dealing with the type of information that we have in construction. But the key really is, the key is to at the beginning is to have it in the right format, and make it available across the organization to use it and leverage it.
Yeah, take time on the front side to make sure you kind of got your plan, got your strategy, got your ducks in a row, and then start rolling it out. Because
if you don't, it will cost a lot more when if you find yourself in the unenviable position of having a big dispute, to then get the information that if it hasn't been put into the right format and ease of use, it can consume a lot of time, a lot of effort to then fix it effectively, so that you can do the things, or the things that I want to do, I can do them. So
yeah, makes total sense. What are some of the big trends you see making waves in the coming years?
I do see a use for blockchain. I see more of a use of predictive modeling. So I see that, as I said earlier, like predicting the time associated with construction projects, and I see just a huge use for that within construction. I see the drone technology and the robots. I see automated plant as well. I think that's going to be a big area, the moving forward. So yeah, but for me, like the predictive side of it. So even sort of using the data historically to predict or to take care of situations on site for safety grounds, so I see quite a lot of use for technology and tools out there.
Yeah. So how's the interoperability of all the technology, the drones, predictive analytics, if I can say that word, predictive analytics, there you go. I can usually speak English sometimes. Machine learning, all these kind of big buzzword trends in technology. How do they all interact in your mind, and what's the real potential over the next couple of years in those areas?
Well, I think the way that they will collect the data as well. So you'll have drones flying around, and I'm sure they're already there, or on certain big sites that they're looking against the model for the design, seeing what's in place. So you'll have that beam's in the wrong position, or it's not there. So they'll be comparing their data against the BIM model or the electronic design.
So kind of like in real time.
So it's not in the right place, or it's not to the right specification. So I see that one use. I see the automated plant growing in use as well. I'm talking, for me, I see this in sort of 5-10 years, maybe possibly sort of nearer 10, but I see much more use of that side automated plant, because it could take the information from, as I see it, take the information from the design and be building to that design. But I see it being used a lot. I think these technologies are there to really help us in the industry. So it'll be a different way of constructing using technology. So we'll still be involved in it, no doubt, but it'll just make things hopefully make things more efficient.
Well, how do people find out more information and connect with you?
Yeah, please check me out on LinkedIn. Pass me over an email, and I'll be more than happy to discuss kind of the things that really I'm passionate about within construction. Obviously, I'm a quantity surveyor, and sort of passing that kind of, why are you talking about machine learning? Why are you talking about data analysis and sort of automated cleaning up of data? So I'm more than happy, and I really enjoy sort of talking about those aspects with people. So yeah, just send me connect with me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way.
That's awesome. I think that your passion for it more than shines through, which is very cool to see.
Thank you.
So final question for you. What does innovation mean to you?
So innovation means to me is improving the thing that previously is difficult, or it's difficult to do. So you're constantly moving forward instead of doing it the same way that you've always done it, getting the same results. Seek out and look for better ways of doing things that are going to improve your efficiencies, in whatever area you work, and look really to the future and see what's as best you can, but we can see where the industry is going and what's coming down the track. So just, I'd say embrace it. It's there to help us. And, as I say, leverage that advantage.
Yeah, I like it. Justin, thanks so much for taking the time and coming on the show today.
Thank you, Todd. It's been a pleasure.